didn't realize I was going to have walk-on music. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Lissa, President and CEO of KQED, and welcome to KQED Live, our new event series in person and streaming online. And we're coming to you from the KQED headquarters, which is nestled in the Mission neighborhood of San Francisco. We are in a space we call the KQED Commons, and I also want to acknowledge that we are on Ramaytush Ohlone unceded territory, and we owe a great debt to original stewards. Thank you for spending what I promise will be the best part of your Friday evening. This event will be a radio broadcast, a forum, and a podcast episode. And I know you all know that Forum is our weekday, daily 2-hour talk program from 9 to 11 a.m. And Forum, for more than 3.5 decades, has been inviting radio listeners to participate in meaningful dialogue with thought leaders, politicians, policymakers, artists, musicians, athletes across a wide array of topics, putting a Bay Area lens on local, statewide, national, international news, issues, and events. And this evening, this is our opportunity, all of us, to meet our host and our guest, and for us to show you why we created KQED Live, to create experiences so that you can connect with us, connect with each other, so we can showcase our mission, our purpose, which is to inform, inspire, and involve. Now, we know that you depend on us for quality programming and trusted journalism. About 1 in 2 Bay Area adults, in fact, use at least one KQED service each week. But what I want you to know is that we absolutely depend on you. We have more than 257,000 members, individual contributors who voluntarily support the work that we do. You make it possible for us to do what we do. And however you support KQED, whether you're a member, you watch, you listen, you subscribe to our newsletters, our podcasts, our online video series, thank you so much for supporting us. And speaking of support, I want to acknowledge the sponsors of KQED Live. They make these events possible. You saw their messages a little bit earlier: Asian Art Museum, Berkeley Rep, Comcast Business, and Oakland International Airport. And some of you may have participated in the Mobile Trivia Quiz sponsored by Comcast Business, and we have a winner. And if you could raise your hand, we have some KQED swag for you. Bob House. If you could raise your hand, we're going to walk that out to you. Congratulations. Now let's get to the even happier part of the evening. I got to tell you, my mom is fired up about this evening's guest, Kristi Yamaguchi. You know her. It is so hard to believe that this winter is the 30th anniversary of her gold medal from Albertville, France. 30 years. And by the way, the first Asian American woman to win a gold medal in the Winter Olympics. Just saying. That being said, Kristi has built upon that incredible achievement over the years, staying involved with the sport, raising a family, and more importantly, giving back philanthropically to the community. Joining Kristi on stage is our very own Mina Kim, an award-winning gold medal reporter and anchor herself. Mina Kim is the host of the 10 a.m. hour of Forum, and that hour, by the way, is broadcast statewide, focuses on race, equity, and justice. A couple things you might not know about Mina Kim, which I'd like to share with you. Originally from Newfoundland, and at one time taught first grade in New Jersey. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to KQED's very own Mina Kim. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. That was such a lovely introduction, and it's so wonderful to be here with all of you, to be at KQED gathering here, which just is something that we don't get to do as much these days. And I don't know about you, but I really needed this. I feel like we needed this. When the events that are happening in the world are weighing so heavy on our mind, I was just thinking as I was driving in, just the incredible privilege to be able to be in conversation with an Olympic champion who has inspired so many people, and with an event that is meant to bring the world together. And so it is my pleasure, my privilege to introduce the 1992 Olympic gold medalist in figure skating, US champion and two-time world champion, Dancing with the Stars champion, as well as a champion of children's literacy and Bay Area native, last but not least, Kristi Yamaguchi.
Thank you.
And I also want to say hello not just to our in-person audience, but to our streaming audience, and to let our streaming audience know that you can join the conversation by putting your questions in the chat. And for our in-person audience, we will have a Q&A portion of the program a little bit later on. But for now, I can't believe the timing of this, because I really have been watching so much of this year's Winter Olympics. And I honestly haven't watched to the same level that I watched this year, I think. And the figure skating performances were just incredible, and wanted to know, I bet you were watching, and just wanted to get a sense of what it was like for you watching this year's Winter Olympics and the figure skating performances of the US athletes.
So definitely watching, for sure. Every Olympic Games that comes along, always an avid fan of all the athletes, and especially figure skating. So, so great to see so much success of all the skaters. A lot of historical performances were performed, and so great to see Nathan Chen capture that gold medal for the men's figure skating, and lots of other interesting stuff going on. But yeah, I think it was, all in all, like the U.S. team did an incredible job. Even competing together as a team, making the podium.
Yeah.
We don't know what color the medal is yet, but for sure silver, possibly gold. We'll see.
Yeah. There was this joke in my house about Nathan Chen, where every time we said his name, we would say, "And do you remember Pyeongchang?" Because we were making fun of how any time Nathan Chen's name was mentioned, they would constantly refer back to the 2018 Winter Olympics, where I thought he did really well. He may have been, expected to do more, but I thought, what is that pressure like, your first time out in the Olympics, and that being something that you have to redeem yourself from?
Yeah, that was a tough one for him. There were a lot of expectations on him. Mind you, he was going up against the reigning Olympic champion, Yuzuru Hanyu from Japan. So, it was hopeful for a medal. And when he just missed the podium, I think it was just we know the potential is there. Yet he was only 18. So, the last 4 years, he's just been so incredibly dominant in men's figure skating, just elevating it to a level that it's going to take a long time for even his other competitors to get to that level that he's skating at. So I think it was just a huge, everyone was just rooting for him. So it was just great to see it. I don't want to say finally happen, because he's, 22 is only his second appearance.
Right.
So to see it, his dreams come true there.
Yeah, and then also the performances of our Bay Area, Karen Chen, Alyssa Liu, and I know that you've done mentorship as well, and played and been involved in their development, in their careers, and their competitive, them getting out there and competing at this level. What is it that you try to tell them or instill in them when they're competing at this level, and the pressure is just so intense?
Yes, well, I'm always so conscious of not saying the wrong thing to them. But it's, I've known Karen Chen since she was 12. That was the first time I had gone out to see her. People have been telling me about this young skater from Fremont, which was also my hometown. Nice. So, when I first saw her skate in the practice rink, I was just amazed. And from that time on, I just had an open door for her and her family, for questions and guidance, whatever. And this year, going into the U.S. Championships, before she actually was named to the U.S. Olympic team, she had reached out, and I was like, "Oh, I was just thinking about you. I was going to reach out and just, see how you're doing." And she's like, "Yeah, I just want some last minute words of wisdom with my confidence and, what to really think about or what helped you, under these
Wow.
circumstances. So we had a great conversation, and she's just so open to hearing and learning, and she's worked hard for that moment. So I was really proud of her, just to see her go out there and make the team, and then, and compete in Beijing.
Can I ask what you told her?
Yes, I mean, I think she was worried about her confidence and maybe, knowing she can do it in practice. So how does she translate that into the competition when she's nervous? And, I've always told her, keep telling yourself the positive things. It's always the negative things that keep popping into your mind before you go out to compete. Like, oh no, what if I fall? Or what if this happens? And it's like trying to just bring that positive talk into your mind frame, like skate fast, bend your knees, check the right arm. Whatever it is, I said, whatever it is your coach tells you, kind of those key things, keep that going on and visualize. I think visualization is powerful as you're mentally preparing to go out and face something pretty big. And so, yeah, and have fun. I said, you've worked hard, you've earned it, and just know, like, you've put the work in. Let that bring you confidence that you're ready for this moment.
You know what I always wonder is that moment when a skater goes out and they're alone on the ice and the music hasn't started yet, and they're, in whatever position they are in to start their performance before the judges. Mm-hmm. I always wonder, like, what are they saying to themselves in that moment? And so now that I have you, an Olympic champion who had that moment on the ice, I'm so curious, like, what do you say to yourself?
I think I was taking deep breaths and like that last big breath and waiting for the music to start. And, I think one thing my coach, Kristi had always said to me was like, one thing at a time. As you're going out to skate, you have probably 15, 20 elements that you need to get through. And, there's no use looking at number 15 because then, nothing's going to happen before that. So get through each element one thing at a time. So it's just like, okay, one thing at a time. Listen to the music. And there's something comforting once your music starts because it's something you've heard day after day through the entire year. And it's almost like putting your body in autopilot and letting it go with what it's trained to do.
Yeah. Well, when you think about the 1992 Olympic Games, like what are some of your strongest memories? What are some of the things that always come back to you that really stand out to you about that experience?
It was a while ago, but there are some vivid memories. And for sure, the opening ceremonies. I think just the incredible pride and it's so humbling just being surrounded by so many amazing athletes that I looked up to from around the world. And I'm so sad that the Olympians this year didn't get to experience the roar as you enter the arena when they announce like the United States of America. And it was just pretty awe-inspiring. And, I think we were all stood up a little taller and prouder at that moment. But then obviously, the competition itself, some vivid memories. And then actually at the end, being announced Olympic gold medalist and having the podium moment.
Yeah. I remember like your biggest competition was like Tanya Harding and Midori Ito and Nancy Kerrigan and
yes, familiar names. So.
Of those three, was there one that you really, I don't want to say feared, but like, they could get in your head?
Midori Ito for sure. She's from Japan and was kind of in line. She was expected to be at the top. She had the triple axel, which I never mastered. So the talk all leading into the Olympics was the triple axel. She's going to do it. Tanya's going to do it. And, if that happens, what happens, with the placements. So, but, Midori and I, for the few years leading up to the Olympics, I think had a great rivalry. And I think we pushed each other in ways that made us both better. She challenged me technically. I worked so hard to match her and even find a way to match whatever her triple axel could bring as far as points and recognition. And then also, play up my artistry, because I think I was, I guess, categorized more as the artistic skater, and kind of use that as my strength.
Yeah, really complicated transitions you would do, and that sounds like it really made the difference. Well, I love the fact that you brought a scrapbook here from your 1992
I did.
Olympics, and tell the story of this scrapbook, which is like so 90s, like awesome. I just
For all of you that aren't, Gen X or earlier, you recognize this. It's not digital, and it's my mom made it for me, and it's all pictures and things she collected from either friends, family, some that I took, and so the front of it, has my picture with the gold medal, and I mean, she put a lot of work into this, and I'm so glad. At the time I was like, wow, what is all that? So here we go. The first page is kind of, tells a little bit of the story. American flag. There's a trading card, and then this is actually the long free program ticket the night I won. In Albertville. So I don't know how she was able to bring all of this stuff home. Some articles from magazines, and let's see, this one was my family actually at the Olympic Games. My sister Lori was there, my mom and dad. They're sitting with the president of U.S. figure skating at the time, and I know my mom said she usually likes to sit by herself in the corner, far, far, far dark corner of the rink when I compete. But they're like, no, Carol, you're sitting right here. So I don't think she actually watched me, but she knows by audience reaction where the music is happening, if I've landed the jump or not. Gosh. So I think, at this point, they were just completely relieved. Yeah, let's see, one more we got here. Okay, so this one is kind of a fun thing. Another name you might recognize is from Brian Boitano, another Bay Area Olympic champion. And we didn't have emails back then, but it's kind of in an email format. It was actually electronic mail that was only in-house within the Olympic Village. But he sent me this telegram or message after I had won, and it says, there are 3 nevers in Hollywood, was the title. And he's like, your guide to being an Olympic champion. 1, don't ever do Hollywood parties. 2, don't ever think you're as great as everyone else thinks you are. And 3, he's like, I sometimes hate this one. Always be nice to people, because they don't understand when you have a bad day and you don't feel like gabbing with them. So this is the gospel according to BB. So he was such a huge role model and mentor for me, like through the years watching him go after that 88 gold medal. And so, it meant a lot to hear from him.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, thank you so much for bringing that. I love that so much. And, just seeing it in like the plastic film over the sticky pages and
printed out photos. Yes.
Well, one of the things you mentioned earlier was just sort of, I was thinking about the controversies that always surround every Olympics. And, I think shortly after that was the crazy sort of Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan thing. But this Olympics was certainly not without a lot of controversy. And of course, you were alluding to it earlier, related to the Russian skater Kamila Valieva, who ended up testing positive for a banned substance. You had said that you were shocked that the Olympic, or it wasn't necessarily the Olympic Committee, but I guess there was like a court or like some in between that made the ruling that she could then compete in the short and long, in the free skate. And I'm curious what it meant to you, because to use the word shocked is a pretty strong word.
Well, I think in every athlete's mind, especially going into the Olympic Games, we all take the Olympic athlete oath to compete, on a fair playing field.
Yeah.
They specifically added in without doping, and sportsmanship and everything.
Is it like something where you you actually
Yes, so
verbally...
in the opening ceremonies, after they raise the Olympic flag, I think it's usually right before they light the cauldron, the hosting country athlete is chosen, and they raise the hand and recite this oath. And it also includes officials and coaches. So athletes, officials, and coaches to abide by this Olympic oath. And you take it to heart. And I think when you go into a competition, obviously like the Olympics, you're expecting an equal playing field. And when there is an athlete that is positive for a banned substance, then it's just, I think it just plays on the integrity of the Olympics, and it's just not fair for the other competitors.
Does it take something from the other athletes? And if so, what
Definitely.
do you think that is?
Well, I think in their minds, they're like, oh, well, she's got an advantage. So just even mentally thinking that you're clean and, doing what you can, but someone else has done something to physically have an advantage over you. So it's a tough one, because obviously she's 15, and I think all of us feel that it's not on her, it's on the team of people around her and the system around her. And you feel awful for what she had to endure, because it was heartbreaking, for sure. But you can't have a positive athlete competing.
Yeah. Well, I think they may have learned that there was, for people who watched the free skate, she was able to compete in the short program, and then again in the free skate, and then that was going to determine the medal standings. You saw her break down when she didn't end up making the podium, and for whatever reason, even though she had been doing beautifully prior to all of that coming out, clearly it affected her when she got out on the ice. But the cameras were right there, and then they were even behind the scenes with the other athletes, her teammates, and there were sobs. There was one teammate who was very upset. What was your reaction when you saw that?
I don't know. You could ask me. It was tough. It was probably one of the hardest things I had ever watched in Olympic sport. And if you ask my husband, I was just sobbing on the couch watching this, and the whole rest of my day I was just like in a mood. But heartbreaking, because what Camila had gone through, and there was no way she was going to go out there and compete and skate like she can, because of that incredible pressure on her. And then just seeing the other competitors also break down once they were done, because of their release of that being under that pressure too. I mean, it was a black cloud over everyone.
Yes.
But I think the most heartbreaking thing was watching Sherbakova, who had just learned she won the Olympic gold medal. And the cameras went to her, she was by herself holding her stuffed animal, looking like she was completely lost. No one was around her congratulating her, and she looked like she was just like,
yeah,
what has happened?
Yeah.
And it was so sad, because, I don't know. I don't think they needed to be put in that situation. And I think, looking back at every Olympic champion's moments, the elation, just the pure joy, excitement, relief, there was none of that. And I think, having lived that moment, it just was so heartbreaking.
I can see that. You even teared up talking about it. Yeah, it was. It was really mind-blowing, and then really thinking about what these skaters are doing today to be able to win and to be competitive at this level. They're doing quads. I mean, you were talking about the triple axel and how that was like the big, no one had landed that in Olympic competition until Midori Ito did it your year. And now it's like, you had 5 quads by one of the Russian.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that you would be seen?
No, not at all. I mean, she basically landed the same number of quads that Nathan landed.
Yes.
Which, he's just even separates himself from the rest of the men. So, yes, it's mind-blowing to see that. Incredible. And I think, amazing to see that in our sport. But I think, the black cloud still surrounded that as well, because
Right.
you don't know what the situation is. She is in the same training facility as Camilla. She was upset for not winning because
those
she
jumps.
did land those 5 quads, which was historical. But her teammate who won, I think, is just overall had the quality and a different performance overall than she did, and she had the lead from the short program as well. So tough situation to watch. All in all, it was
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about a happier seminal moment in Olympic sports. And actually, I got that word from a Washington Post piece that I read about you. It was a long profile about you, and it called your win a seminal moment for America, for Americans, and for Asian Americans. I think you've talked about how proud you felt when I think Sports Illustrated did a cover of you and they said American Dream. And, I've heard about how like Michelle Kwan was inspired by you, and then, Nathan was inspired by Michelle Kwan, and they realized that like you were so pivotal in starting that sort of beautiful cascade. I don't know how else to describe it, of like people being inspired to come into the sport and seeing themselves in the sport and able to win. And so, I'm curious how that makes you feel, just in terms of that, right?
It's humbling, because I think in the moment, as a teenager just going after my dreams, you don't think of that. And
Right, that
I
you're
was
gonna have a-
California girl, just skating, doing my thing. And I think it was not until after the Olympics when I started to realize that, wow, I'm getting a lot of support from the Asian American community. And I think, wow, I didn't realize how much this meant to the Asian American community.
Is
the
there
success
something
I've
that
had.
stands out, like something that happened where it sort of hit you, how meaningful it was?
I think it was just the outpouring of support, and being invited to different events or whatever that were in the Asian American community, and feeling intimidated, but then at the same time seeing the pride that they had from my accomplishments, and it was just like, oh. And even when I took a deeper reflection into my own family history, just appreciating the sacrifices that my mom's generation and her parents and my dad's family went through, to really allow me to live that American dream.
Yeah. When you say your own family history, do you mean the fact that, your grandmother was incarcerated during World War II? Your mother was born in I think, Heart Mountain, is that right?
She was born in Amachi, Colorado. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I was literally one generation off from that generation that lost everything and had to completely rebuild their lives after the war and find their way as Americans, right? So I think the more I thought about that, and I was just like, wow, yeah, I can see. And, just makes me even more grateful for the generations before me that really paved the way.
Yeah. So who inspired you? Who inspired you to be a figure skater? Or like, what was the moment when you We're like, I want to do this. Oh, and there you
Oh
go.
my
How
goodness.
old are you here in this image that we're seeing?
I was probably about 6 or 7. I started when I was 6. I still have this little dress. It's polyester with little white and blue flowers on it. But it's, I had seen a local ice show at this rink. It's Southland Rink that was at Hayward, the mall in Hayward. And my sister was skating like group lessons there, but kind of wasn't her thing, so she quit. But, I always wanted to do the same thing my big sister did, so I want to try it. So we went, and I loved it, saw the ice show, and I think it was the sequins probably that really got me interested. And and I loved it from the very start. And I just remember that after that first time, asking my mom, okay, when are we going back? When are we going back? And why do I have to keep turning the skates in? Those are my skates. And she's like, no, we're just borrowing
You didn't have a
those."
pair of skates?
Yeah.
I heard you had a Dorothy Hamill doll.
I did, yes. So she was my big idol when I started, and I kind of knew what the Olympics were, kind of didn't, but she had the cute little red skating dress on, and I would sit her on the little rail there at the rink and pretend she was watching me.
Oh my gosh. That's so great.
It was pretty fun. I'm like, oh, I think I still have that Dorothy Hamill doll too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you did pairs for a long time with Rudy Galindo. Talk about that, because one thing I was struck by in preparing for this was that you skated pairs like for a really long time, up until very close to when you won your gold medal in singles. And I was wondering, is that common for someone to be doing both things for the amount of time that you did it?
Probably not at that extent. I mean, we started when I was 11, he was 13. He had just
my
won
gosh.
yeah. So I think because we were both two tiny little kids at the rink, someone's like, oh, how cute would they be if they skated together? And he had just won the novice national championship. So already, had this trajectory of incredible talent. And so we just were having fun as little kids skating together. And we had a really great coach and made it fun. And before we knew it, we were at the U.S. Nationals, and then we were coming up in the ranks, and then, made it to the Junior World Championship. So I think, we were having fun and didn't quite know, good thing we were young and had the energy to do. We were both doing singles and the pairs at the same time at that point. So it was kind of rare. I mean, especially to be competing at the world junior level in both disciplines, and then eventually at the world level.
I mean, you're saying competing, but you won the Junior Worlds, the two of you in 1988, right? And then you won the U.S. Nationals, right? The two of you as well.
Yes. Yeah. We were two.
You were just
I have more
competing.
pair titles than I do singles titles in the U.S.
But you did feel like
Yes.
at some point you had to choose if you were going to. I see. Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough. We had skated together for 7 years, and at the 1990 World Championships, Halifax.
You're referring to my
Canada.
Canadian background.
Yes. And it was a really tough competition. We were still competing in the compulsory figures at the time, and I competed 5 days in a row between singles and the pairs, and I didn't perform well in either one. I was just exhausted. And I think we placed 5th as a pair team, and looking at the teams who were in front of us, we knew we would never crack into the top. 5th was probably as high as we would ever go. And, it was there where I was kind of stunned when a skating official approached me and said, you need to choose one event now. You can't keep doing 2. And we really feel that you need to go into singles, or just focus on the singles. And, it was shocking because Rudy and I had such a strong partnership, and we had thought we're going to, go into the sunset like Ty and Randy and skate forever. But I think we kind of saw that, the road was kind of there, and we needed maybe some help to kind of make that decision, which it was hard. It was like saying a breakup, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about one of the coaches that you and Rudy had, who I understand was Mabel Fairbanks? And I had recently learned about Mabel Fairbanks because KQED and PBS, they're doing another series of their dance documentary, If Cities Could Dance. And they're talking about Mabel Fairbanks, a Black woman figure skater who was denied the opportunity to compete because of her race. And when I heard that she also coach the two of you, I was really, really struck by that. In fact, just to give our viewers and audience today just a sense of Mabel, I'd love to just play a little bit of a clip from this next series, and it'll start with Joel Savory in Washington, D.C. He's a figure skater and coach and founder of this Diversify Ice organization, and he'll be sharing a little bit of the background of Mabel Fairbanks in case anybody isn't familiar. But let's take a look at that.
Hi, my name is Joel Savory, and I'm the founder of Diversify Ice Foundation. I'm in Washington, D.C., here at the Sculpture Garden. And this is If Cities Could Dance. Growing up, I used to just love watching the Olympics with my family, but skaters of color, skating was one of those things that you typically just did not see.
My discovery, my foundation, my beginnings originated with this Black skater coach, Mabel Fairbanks.
Early 1967, my mom was searching for coaches and someone recommended Mabel.
If it weren't for her, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
She would watch the ice skaters in New York during the wintertime.
She would do anything to get on the ice.
So she wasn't a refined, typical figure skater. A lot of her influence did come from dancers like Pearl Primus, Katherine Dunham. Since she was denied many years in New York, not being able to compete competitively because of her color, she saw this opportunity to nurture, to inspire, and open that door for minority skaters through me. I wasn't even allowed in a figure skating club. She fought for me to get in those clubs.
All of her children left to go to that higher level coach. But Mabel gave us everything she had. She gave us blood, sweat, and tears to make it to that national level.
What really made me dig deeper into that story was seeing my story in that story.
Yay. Oh,
Does
I
that bring
love
back
that.
memories for you? What
It
was like
does.
working with Mabel Fairbanks?
Oh, she had so much spunk. And so she knew our coach, Jim Hulick, well. And also, I think how it happened was through Ty Babylonia, because Ty and Randy were mentors for Rudy and I. And we worked with them on and off, and obviously they were inspiration. And then we worked with Mabel many times, and she had a flair about her, as you can see. I mean, she just took the shows and just commanded the ice. And that's really what she was teaching us to do, like how to perform and, how to really bring the audience in and finish. Like in skating, obviously, it is like dance where, in pairs, you got to match your synchronization. All of that is so key. And she was so good with all those fine details and just really trying to bring out, I guess, the personality of each of the skaters.
I love just thinking about, you have an African-American coach, you're a Japanese-American skater, you've got Rudy Galindo, a Mexican-American skater. I mean, in a sport that at that time was almost entirely white or European, right? It was just like, he
I
must
guess
have
so.
stood out.
A little bit, but again, we're from the Bay Area, so it
Right,
was
we have
like
lots of examples
a
of, like-
melting pot.
Yeah.
More so than the rest of the country. But yeah, I think it's great to look back and just see, the skaters who did break so many barriers and make it possible for others to come along and do the same.
Yeah, we have a question from the audience. How can we make figure skating more equitable? It is a really hard, expensive, requires a lot of sacrifice kind of sport, right?
It's tough. That's a tough one. Yes, because we're not subsidized by the government or anything. So it's really each individual family who are supporting the athlete.
Yeah.
And
you would
it's
apply for
tough.
grants and things, right?
You can apply for grants,
what
and
you
I
did
think
2 years
what's great about seeing this show, Diversify Ice, I think is one of the first big notable organizations to really step up and take this mission on and really connect skaters, promising up-and-coming skaters, with scholarship opportunities. And that's the only way I think that we can bring more diversity into our sport.
What did you think about the New York Times piece that got a lot of pushback because they were saying that Asian Americans are overrepresented in figure skating? And I think after that, they tried to kind of explain it and correct it and even maybe remove it. I can't quite remember, but what do you think about it?
I have to admit, I didn't read the full article, but obviously the headline caught my attention, and I was just like, yeah, that is not a nice headline to have, overrepresented.
Yeah.
But, I think it's so great to have these positive role models on the U.S. Olympic team for future generations, no matter, what they look like. And, but yeah, I think there's still work to do in figure skating as far as diversity. So I'm proud that the Asian Americans are, leading the way and hopefully, gaining momentum for other people of color to be able to take part, and have success in our sport.
Yeah, there were other pieces that were talking about, for example, Chloe Kim was the skateboarding champion, and Eileen Gu, who is from the Bay Area, represented China, but that, really Chloe was talking about how after Pyeongchang, after she won gold there, she would, still get all kinds of terrible trolling and terrible hate mail and things, and that it was only when, she was winning medals did she feel like she was seen as American. And then I was reading about your post-92 medal and how, like, after the Olympics, there's sponsorships, there's, there's all these product endorsements that you do. You're just really sought after for so many things. And there were articles that noted that you seemed to get less of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you agree?
I mean, I know that was a focus in the media at the time, and whether I felt that or not, hard to say, because I didn't know what to expect after the Olympics. And I think a lot of it stemmed from just the strained U.S.-Japan relations at the time. And because I have a Japanese surname, it was like, oh, I think that's, damaging her marketability. And, I was like, oh, I'm skating professional. I'm like, have other things to worry about other than waiting for endorsements to come in. So let's keep the focus there. But yeah, it was talked about a lot, and I think it was hard not to kind of be like, well, maybe, but you can't dwell on that, or
Yeah. Yeah. Or I think it was at the Junior Worlds when you won, and there were, in the individual.
Oh, yeah.
And there were 2 other skaters from Japan who also medaled. And they were delaying the podium ceremony because they were looking for a 3rd Japanese flag. They thought you were from Japan.
Yes, yeah. So we were waiting and waiting. We're like, wow, it's taking so long. Like, this is just, yeah. And one of the organizers was like, oh, they're trying to find another Japanese flag. And I looked at her and I was like, I am American. Like, and they're like, oh, so, yeah, that was a little, like, what? No, I'm USA. Like, find stars and stripes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that it is. It's an incredible moment, and it's amazing how much these things just keep coming back in cycles. They have to constantly be addressed, and the only hope is that the spiral is moving upward. We have a lot more questions coming in from the audience. Judy asks, tell us more about the children's books you've written and Dream Foundation. Thank you, Judy. I'm so glad, because that was one of the places that I wanted to go with you next. So you have this incredible Olympic career, and you've now become, you did Dancing with the Stars. We could list off all the things. But one of the things that you've really put your energy and passion towards is children's literacy. So talk a little bit about Always Dream and why that became so important for you.
Yes, so Always Dreams organization established in 1996. So we're actually, because of COVID, still celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. And it's, it was something that was inspired by, the values my parents instilled in my brother and sister and I of giving back, and having been so fortunate to go after my dreams. What can I do? I really wanted to inspire other kids to go after their dreams and have the opportunity and provide whatever resources I could to help kids go after their dreams. So through the years, we did various things. The last 10 years, we really focused in on early literacy, knowing that if a child doesn't have that fundamental base of the love of books, the love of reading, then it's really hard to grow from there. And so we're all about getting access to books, high quality books for low income families. In kindergarten, we focus on preschool and kindergarten, and making sure they also have family engagement support. So really getting the families involved, setting the time aside, giving them strategies and tips to build their literacy skills with their child at home, and just to engage with them. To sit there and read to your child is probably one of the greatest gifts you can give them.
Yeah. You're holding up the book there, and that image that we're looking at, it's called Kara's Kindness?
Yes,
Kara's Kindness. So when was this done? Was it in 2016?
I think this was, it was more like 2016, and it was a fun book. I've always loved the idea of passing it forward, passing kindness forward. So that's what this is all about, and it's really, hopefully, helps kids realize that it doesn't take a lot to just be a good friend to someone, and one small act of kindness can really make a huge difference in their lives, and then eventually will come back to you. And I think we can never hear it enough, and it's a good thing to instill in our kids as young as we can.
Yeah, we're national events influencing your desire to focus on kindness in 2016. And I should tell the audience that we're going to be doing our Q&A portion very soon. So if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand. Now, our incredible live event producer, Sarah Rose, has a microphone, and she will come to you if you have a question for Kristi. And we're continuing to get some from our streaming audience. And this person wants to know, can there be longevity in the sport? What do you think about the sport having people peak as teenagers? Professional tennis careers have been getting longer for one and benefiting from new technologies. Is that possible in figure skating?
And I'm assuming this is directed more towards women's figure skating, because there is more longevity, I think, in the men's side of skating, as we saw Nathan going after two
why
Olympics.
Is that?
It just physiologically, the men keep getting stronger and stronger into their 20s. And so their ability to do the triple jumps, the quad jumps, and just maturing as a skater is just greater the longer they're in the sport. And for the women's side, the scoring system now, which was implemented in 2003, I think it has really swung the pendulum to the side of the technical side, really.
So the jumping.
Yes, because it's a points-based system now, where every element you do, whether it's a little turn on the ice, to a spin, to a jump, has a value. And, a quad is just worth so many points. Even if you rotate the quad and fall, you can possibly still get more points for that than just doing a triple jump, if it's all the way rotated. And so it's, the reward system of it, encourages, right, that amazing technical ability, which is, honestly, mathematically, I'm not sure how these young skaters are doing quads already. It just seems like how capable they are is just, it's beyond my comprehension, but they're able to do it. But history has shown that no one over the age of 17 has landed a quad in competition.
So do you think
On the women's side.
do you think it pushes them to be much harder on their bodies at an earlier age, and that could?
Yes, it pushes them to be harder, and when you go through changes and your bodies go through changes, say puberty for a woman, you have to readjust every time your body changes, and that small adjustment is maybe all it takes to maybe lose that extra edge to complete 4 revolutions in the air.
There are some questions that are coming up, like where is figure skating going next? Can anyone compete with the Russians?
I think so, for sure. Yes. One, maybe they won't be in competition for a while. I think there needs to be some consequences for their history of doping. And 2, our own Alyssa Liu. She's from Richmond, California, just down the street. She's completed quadruple jumps in competition as a clean athlete, and the triple axel at the Olympics. So, I think for sure, the women can compete with the quads and rival the Russians. And I think even the skaters from Japan showed at the Olympics this year that technically and artistically they can compete as well.
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting question. What has improved since you were competing? What is something you are nostalgic for that's been lost?
So much has improved. It's so great to see each generation, right, evolve the sport into something bigger and better. Obviously, technically, things have evolved and improved. I think skaters' spins have improved. One positive for the points in the judging system. I think what I'm nostalgic for is because they're going after points, the skaters are doing as much as they can in the 4 minutes they're given to get all the points, and with the least amount, I wouldn't say the least amount of effort, but maybe, if the same things get the same points, but this is a little easier, they're going to go for that. And so you're seeing just busy programs. Like, I don't see a lot of skaters skating to the music and the emotion coming, the simple edge that, say, Dorothy Hamill did, wouldn't get very many points these days. So you don't see just the pure simplicity, which is sometimes harder to sustain than, the busy footwork and constant moves that you see. So I do, in pair skating, the lifts are just like 5 positions in one lift, where, the beauty of like one sustained position is you don't see anymore. So sometimes, more is not more, I don't think.
Your daughter skated for a while, and
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing images. Here's images of you and your.
She's taller than me now.
But has decided to do other things as well. And were you relieved, or are you like, would you want, given everything and all the expectations and the physical demands? Like,
It was really for fun with her, and she really had fun with it, and I think it ran its course. I could see towards the end that she wasn't getting the joy from it anymore. It wasn't ever super highly competitive for her. She was competing and she was progressing really well. but the competition just wasn't for her, and she just stopped skating in September of last year, and it was tough. Through the pandemic, the rinks were closed, and for a 13, 14-year-old, your interests change, right? There's just a lot to compete with as someone starting high school. So, it's the typical time we lose a lot of skaters in our sport, but yeah, I was, happy when she did it and a little frustrated too. But at the same time, I knew it wasn't her passion. So I was like, okay, you got to let it go and let her find whatever her path is.
Yeah. This question, do you still have your Olympic outfit?
It's still in existence. It's actually at the U.S. Figure Skating Museum and Hall of Fame in Colorado Springs. So they have an amazing display. Like I think Brian Boitano's costume is there, Scott Hamilton, Dorothy Hamill. Even they have some Sonia Henney memorabilia, and that's where the gold medal is too. So it's there for everyone, whoever passes through Colorado Springs to see.
Do you ever want to put your skates back on? Or I'm sure but when you're watching the Olympics or watching these skaters, are you ever just like,
yeah. I mean, there's things about it that you're just like, oh, I wish I could still do that. Or, so that's such a great feeling when you just like nail that jump and you're like, yes. So there are times for sure. I think everyone would say that, like they miss being able to do what they used to be able to do. And sometimes you think, oh, yeah, I could still do a spiral. And then it's like, no, wait, is my leg up? And it's like, no. So it's like, okay, yeah, it's time for the young ones to just take over.
When you look at that time, though, and this is my last question, but when you look at that time, you accomplished so much. It's just this incredible feat at a young age, and it's amazing. And, always in life, we look ahead, the best is yet to come. But do you ever think, wow, like, that was like the greatest thing ever?
Yeah, I mean, I thank my lucky stars every day, I think, that things turned out the way they did. And just take everything in, and grateful for it, for sure. Because, you just never know which way your life is going to go. And so yeah, I think at 20, it was a little daunting. It's like, okay, now what? Like, what can top this? Or it can't be downhill from there, right? But I think that's something that Always Dream has given me. It's given me a new passion, a new challenge to really look forward to and, get up every day and try to make a difference and hopefully leave even a bigger legacy there as far as the impact that maybe I could have on other people's lives than the gold medal.
Well, Kristi Yamaguchi, it has been such a pleasure to talk with you, and I'm guessing that our audience is just so captivated that they didn't need to have any questions answered by you at this point. But I just appreciate how much you shared with us today, and thank you.
No,
so
appreciate it, and thank
Kristi
you.
Yamaguchi.
Thank you. Thank you. You were great too. Thank you. Yeah, that was fun.
And thank you, streaming audience, for your great questions as well. All right. Oh, I'm not sure what happens now. I don't know that I got this far.